In 2022, I discovered something that took our production company from making 10K a month to smashing through that 50K barrier, and it wasn't easy. It took me more than 2 years to figure out this framework. I had constant setbacks and had to navigate the long road of trial and error, and along that journey, we ended up losing client contracts that were worth more than $150,000. But we're through the other side, and it was all worth it, and now I'm ready to share this framework with you guys. Hey guys, I'm Ross, and if you're new to the channel and looking to grow your videography business, then you're in the right place. In the space of 2 years, I went from a desk in my parents' living room to running a full-size production company with our own studio and working on amazing client projects for big brands all over the world. And it was all down to one of our key principles, the RCP system, which I now teach over in my Perspective Academy, where we help filmmakers from all over the world develop the business skills of filmmaking so that they can sign high-ticket clients on regular monthly retainers. Taking a business from zero to regularly hitting 10K every single month is relatively easy once you get past it. You can understand that there's a few key things you have to do and some of the teachings that I share with you on this channel to get you to that point. However, from 10 to 50K a month is a whole different story. You have to think differently. You have to implement more extensive strategies, and you really have to fine-tune each area of your business so that you can get the maximum return and increase your revenue. There are no longer just 1 or 2 things that you need to do to grow to that next level, which is why I've listed 10 of the most impactful things that I've had to do to personally grow our business, and you'll have to do the same if you want to be in that top percent. One of the first things I started to do was seek strategic partnerships. These were collaboration opportunities with other agencies or companies where we could complement each other's services. These were ultimately businesses that were much further ahead in the journey of success than I was, but I was able to bring something to the table that they otherwise didn't have access to. This gave us immediate access to their client base and effectively led to much more significant projects with higher revenue. Now, to get to this point in your business at the moment, you've probably already had to partner and collaborate with other businesses. So why can't you break through that 50K month? Now, the answer to that lies later on in a tip that I'll give you in this video. And ultimately, strategic partnerships are just that. They're strategic to your business growth. They don't happen overnight. They generally need time to nurture those relationships from an initial introduction all the way through to meetings and then working on your first projects with them. These are long-term relationships that you're going to need to build if you want to start to benefit from that better portfolio, those bigger, more notable clients, and those bigger revenue budgets as well. It's very hard to go from someone who's just breaking through 10K months and then all of a sudden start to pitch for work that's worth tens of thousands of pounds in one project. So ultimately, following these longer term relationships will help you have a smoother process into smashing through those 50K months. Next, you have to scale your team wisely, and this can be internal or external. I guarantee that, like me, quite a lot of you are sitting there regularly smashing through 10K months and thinking, I'm already so busy. How can I handle these projects? And these projects are so much different when we start to charge more for them. They generally take longer, which leaves you with cash flow challenges that I'll come on to later on, and they take numerous people numerous amounts of days, which means you can't just be doing all of your little projects that you've been working on so far. And the easiest way I discovered to overcome this was quite simply to start to expand my team. Now, the reason I said to scale your team wisely is because in any business growth there's a sense of urgency, and we've made a lot of bad hiring decisions which has cost us tens of thousands of pounds simply because we didn't really know what we were looking for. They say hire slow, fire fast, and that slow process is something that's quite hard to do when you're so excited about expanding your team. You need to ensure that your new employees or subcontractors, freelancers, or whoever you're bringing into your team aligns with ultimately your culture, the way you do things, and your company's vision, making sure that you're the right fit for them as much as they're the right fit for you. Being super clear on this will attract the real talented people who want to be with you for that journey, because it is a growth point. They equally aren't walking into a role, whether again freelance or internal, where it's going to be defined to just that one thing. by hiring specialized people, so people who have perhaps had experience in a particular industry or a particular part of the production process, will definitely help you handle bigger projects and be able to scale quicker. So for instance, when we think about a business breakdown, you're going to want a clear organizational chart. An organizational chart effectively looks like this. You would have the CEO at the top, and then when we're talking about the kind of creative process, you would then probably have a creative director, someone that's responsible for making sure that everything that leaves this business is to that high standard. Then you would have a producer or potentially account manager, and then you would have your creative fulfillment team. So that would be your director of photographer, lighting person, audio person, so on and so forth. And they're the people that you can generally outsource with ease. One of the key areas that we've been looking into more recently has been hiring someone in an account manager or producer role, because it means that they're able to look after the client, set up the projects, and then actually liaise with our internal fulfillment team so that they're not the ones looking after the clients. We've got someone who's dedicated and specialized to that role. And that's a huge difference between a small business that's maybe just scraping through 10K a month and these much bigger agencies where that is expected from these big clients. They expect to have an account manager. They expect it to follow through this particular process. And if you're the guy on the call and you're the guy doing the filming and you're the guy doing the editing, they're going to very quickly think that that doesn't feel as stable as working with a bigger company where they're paying the big bucks. And big companies don't mind paying big bucks if they're getting the service that represents that. And currently, I'm guessing that your 10K a month business isn't quite hitting that on the head. And that's, of course, where your strategic partners come in that I've just mentioned too. Everything that I give you today all links up with each other and are all equally important. You might implement them in different steps, but ultimately they go together to make the engine that fits inside your business. If you look at it like a Ferrari, the Ferrari is only going to be as good as its engine, right? And every component on that engine needs to work at its optimum rate in order to scale. And that's exactly what we're doing here. The next thing I had to learn was ultimately how to niche down and to retarget my offering to a new type of audience. These are no longer people who just need a quick project doing. These are people who demand high-end video production. And this all comes down to knowing exactly who your new target audience is going to be. And a very quick tip that you can implement right now to give you a guide on that is simply asking yourself, if you were in an elevator with your ideal client, what would you say in 30 seconds to them? How could you sell your business where you're one, solving the problems that they're having, their pain points, telling them what they've got to gain, and then finally tying that into your service offering? If you can give them those three things, so gains, understand their pains, and then wrap it all up into a service that you're offering, that's going to ultimately connect with these people much better. And that's what all these massive agencies are doing. And if you currently don't have a niche, then you're probably not breaking through that 10K a month barrier. And if you are, then you're doing exceptionally well, but what got you here won't get you there. So you need to really start thinking about and be strategic here as well. Start to understand what businesses actually are going to need your services and have got really deep pockets. How many employees do they have? What's their revenue? And then all of a sudden you can start to really narrow down this broad playing field of, let's say, everyone in the construction industry versus construction companies who develop housing estates that make more than 10 million a year and have more than 100 employees. That's how narrow your audience can go, because it makes it so much easier to find that person and have a conversation with them than it does to have a chat with every single person along that journey to try and find the right one. Now, it's very unlikely that you'll be able to break through a 50K month if you just keep your service offering as videography, maybe some editing. So my tip here is you have to diversify your service offering. This is ultimately expanding your service offering beyond just video production and starting to offer new services such as pre-production, script writing, animation, full post-production services, marketing campaigns, video strategy, just to kind of name a few. For instance, with us, when we started to implement video strategy, all of a sudden we could add another 10K to those projects, because that's where we're getting paid for our thinking. That's where actually to these businesses, it was going to make the biggest impact, because anyone can create a good video, but they needed to know that this video at that price point was going to absolutely smash their goals. And the only way of doing that was running some strategy sessions. So I highly invested in my own knowledge so that I could educate myself on what that looks like and develop our own strategy as our production company that we now sell as an additional service too. What you don't want to do here is start to really offer loads and loads of services. So we do drone, we do photography, we do film, we do pre-production, we do storyboarding, we do this, we do that. Keep it key to that ideal customer. Think again about what they want. What are they going to need, and what are they going to pay you the big bucks for? And if you don't know how to introduce video strategy, let's say as an example, then find a freelancer that you can work with on a per project basis. So you're not paying them every month, but when a project comes in, then you can selling their services as well, and obviously make some additional revenue on top. Just ask them, how could I make some sales for you? What information do I need to know to best sell your services? And then again, just like you're doing with your strategic partnerships, you're building out a strategic team at the same time. Okay guys, just want to take this time quickly because we're about halfway through the video, just to check in with you, see how you're doing. Let me know in the comments what you found useful so far. I hope you've got a page full of notes. And if you're not subscribed already, please just do me one favor. All of this content is completely free. Just make sure you've pressed that subscribe button. We'd really appreciate it. In order to handle bigger projects and an increased workflow, you need to focus on increasing your efficiency and capability. Effectively, what you're doing here is streamlining your workflow. And I'm sure many of you, like me when I was at the 10K a month stage, did have some kind of process, maybe written down even, something that showed what that customer journey was like. What I didn't realize was to unlock the next stage, it had to be so much more detailed. We actually had to invest into software, AI tools, things that could help that process, enabled us to make sure we knew exactly what location each project was in, what stage of the pipeline that project was sitting in. And this part of the challenge was probably one of the biggest things where we had constant setbacks and we had to really navigate trial and error, where me and the team were then all on the same page to a point where then we were able to scale. It was so much easier, and ultimately we're able to do a lot more and make a lot more revenue and actually be a lot less stressed, simply because we had these workflows and systems in place. So I would highly suggest looking at AI tools, some automation software, as well as tracking software like Monday or Asana or things like that, where you can have a visual workflow, everything from sales right the way through to delivery of the video and then after sales as well. And as part of increasing that capacity, you have to look at everyone inside your team and think, well, what capacity are they currently working at? They really shouldn't be all at 100%, because that means that you can't take on any more work. And if they are, that's where you need to look at your systems and processes to ultimately enable them to do more in less time. This is actually something we talk about in depth. I mean, we have so many step-by-step videos in the Perspective Academy, which is my mentorship program for filmmakers who want to focus on the business side of filmmaking, because this stuff is so important to get right. At this stage, you can't afford to compromise on quality, so you need to look at efficiencies and capability to know how much more your team can take on and what you can do in each area of your business to fine-tune it and make sure it's as efficient and as smooth as it possibly can be. Now, something that will help you almost overnight, to be fair, is one of my favorite things to talk about, and that's to develop a recurring revenue stream. By offering retainer packages or subscription-based services to an effect, will really help you guarantee your monthly income. And again, it also allows you to do less work because you're doing less sales and time management, and actually get paid more at the end of each month. I won't go into detail about this now because I've got a full training on this, which I'll link below for our Perspective Academy, where we teach about our own retainer system called the RCP model, which stands for Regular Content Plan. And what that enables us to do is to take a client that would usually work with you 3 or 4 times a year and get them to use you more than 12 times a year, paying for your services every single month, so that you don't have to think about when or where that next project is coming from. You can, of course, continue to do sales, and I recommend that you do so because you're signing these clients onto 12-month contracts. It means that you've got that guaranteed income for the next 12 months. So the more people you sign, the more money that you're ultimately going to generate. But unlike the traditional sense of actually going out, making a sale, doing the work, looking for more work, making the sale, doing the work, looking for more work, this actually gets rid of that whole process. So any kind of recurring revenue based system that you can implement in your business is going to make it so much more scalable at mass. Oh, and by the way, all of those strategic partners that we spoke about earlier, so maybe marketing agencies and people like that, they all have these massive clients onto retainers. So when you can get in with those guys, then you are set up for as long as they've got that retainer as well, assuming you do a good job, which is why every single one of these points all interlinks with each other, which makes up the overall big discovery that I've been working on for years. Marketing and branding is something that you're going to have to increase. If you want to align yourself with those bigger production companies that are ultimately taking these jobs at the moment, then you're going to want to make sure you at least look in line with them. And the best thing I could kind of suggest here is actually doing some competitor analysis where you look at other production companies, see what they're doing, and then try to figure out how you can do that on your level at the moment. This is all about looking like you're a company that can handle these much bigger projects, not looking like a company that does a project for, $1,000 or whatever, does 10 of them a month to break through that 10K barrier, if that makes sense, right? So we need to have a look and see what the rest of the market is doing, and then invest heavily into our own marketing, even as far as detailed Facebook ads, so that we can target that ideal customer and make it feel like we're speaking to them to attract them into our business. Ultimately, anyone that comes to you, which is called inbound marketing, then when they're coming to you, they've already got a higher perceived value of your services. So it's easier to make a sale because they're coming to you saying, hey, I've seen your work, I'd love to work with you. And 2, because they've got a higher perceived value, the sale's easier. And guess what? The price is higher too. So now we're on to the final 3 things that really did have the biggest impact on our business growth. So can you do me a favor? If you wouldn't mind, in the same way as you guys are trying to grow your business, we're really trying to grow this channel. And the only way we know if the content is good is if you can press that subscribe button if you're not already. And if you are already subscribed and you could leave us a comment, then apparently the algorithm loves that. And it's really good to have an understanding of what you guys are actually enjoying, and then we can create more content based on that. Okay, so you are going to have to optimize your pricing structure. So first of all, review your pricing to reflect the new image and the new services that you're now offering. You've increased ultimately the overall value of what you do, so therefore so should your prices. I would also suggest look at different pricing models, whether that's a tiered pricing structure or whether or not that's a value-based pricing structure, depending on the type of clients you're working with. I personally stick with a day rate that has our value built into it. And then when we're pricing up these projects, we have a very clear breakdown of exactly where that money's going. These bigger budget clients are not going to want you to have just made it up because you know they've got deeper pockets than everyone else. They're going to need clear line items of exactly who costs what. And if you don't have an idea of what that is in your area and at your position, then phone around and ask some people. In our academy, we actually have a community where we can just ask people like this. And I'm sure you agree, like me, most filmmakers are super approachable, and you can just ask them, hey, how much would you charge for that, or working for this big client? And it will give you some kind of indicative idea of what you should be looking to charge, because you're going to need to review this if you want to make more money. Some of you might be saying, well, at the moment, Ross, I'm already struggling to get paid what I'm worth. And that's probably because you're not smashing through 10K every single month. Maybe. If you are and you're still having that problem, then you really need to understand your target audience again and the conversations that you're having. This is all about you focusing on the value that you provide, delivering exceptional quality along with all of those other new services that you've introduced into your business. You are no longer a freelancer or a small business. You need to start thinking like people who have a bigger team. Even if you're outsourcing that, you still need to come across with the same amount of compelling confidence that it takes to win these businesses over. If you truly want to start smashing through more than 50K a month, then you're going to have to invest in professional development. That's for your team as well as you. That's about investing in the things that you don't know much about, because ultimately time is money. And the quicker that you can have answers to the things that you're stuck on, or even get solutions for the problems you don't even know you're going to face yet, then that is so much more valuable. And actually, that's such a mindset shift that we see in people in our academy, is that change. It's almost like flicking on the light switch. When they go from the approach of, well, I can try and figure this out myself, versus what does it actually cost you being stuck at that point in your business at the moment? Does someone else know about it? So when we introduce strategy into our business, we paid to get educated on it. We've sent the team on various courses so that they could further develop their skills. And then ultimately this then builds out more of your business portfolio. So when you're sending over your PDF that says to this new high ticket client exactly who you are and what you do, and you list your team, you can say this team member is qualified and trained in XYZ. This person does this, that, and the other. And then you're going to seem so much more powerful and a force to be reckoned with, rather than where you're at the moment, which is potentially just, I can just do a good job because my clients say I do good things. It's not quite the same as actually investing and going on training courses and actually investing into your personal development. Now, finally, I'm sure you would all agree, this is something that I put off until very recently, pretty much until the very end of this whole journey that we've been facing. And that is understanding you need to focus on profitability and financial management. We're creatives, right? We want to create cool things. We want the easy, laid back approach. We obviously want to grow our businesses. That's why you've watched this far. And sometimes just looking at the numbers isn't the fun thing to do. But you won't know how well something's doing unless you measure it. You need to monitor and analyze your finances regularly and ultimately ensure that your revenue growth is moving in line with your profitability. Now, again, we have so many videos on this in our Perspective Academy because this is such an important factor. I've actually got some documents and templates that you can download that actually run the numbers for you. So you just need to put in what you're looking to make, and that will give you an idea of exactly then, therefore, what you should be charging and what that looks like at the end of every year. Having the flexibility to adapt is crucial for success. You need to look at what is working and what isn't working, and then adapt those strategies to make sure that it aligns and starts to get you the results you need. We've actually got so many videos on this on our Perspective Academy for that same reason as before. This is such a key factor at any stage of your business, and the quicker you know this stuff and can implement it, the much more your business starts to grow at a quicker rate. This isn't about implementing all of these things overnight. This is about implementing one or two of them now, and then one or two of them next month, and so on and so forth. This took me a long time to figure out this framework, and these are just the 10 things that had the biggest impact in our business growth. If you're already doing some of these things, then you need to revisit them and understand, why is it not performing well? Why are you still not able to break through those barriers? And maybe that's because you're not implementing some of the other areas, or you just need to fine tune it. Analyze and measure the results that you were expecting versus what you're currently getting, and then adapt. One of the things that will get you success quicker is that recurring revenue stream. So I'll link to that in the description below. So it gives you a full training on how we use AI, plug that into our business to find clients, then what we actually email them with, and the framework templates that we have for that, and then how we convert them onto our regular content plans. I actually value every single one of you, and it's been a mind-blowing journey for us to give back to this community, and I really appreciate your help in return in growing this channel. Till next time, peace.